Is that an option?
Anything for charity.
How rude.
He doesn't sound much like a Mexican drug lord, but he looks like one.
I've been called worse. By better people.
Too soon.
Well, it's is my sound on now, Johan? I don't know why we've got terrible technical difficulties. I believe it's Harrison cursing Microsoft products.
Well, yeah, Microsoft hates me. Chris hates all technology, so it's probably more his fault.
Cool.
Yeah, but Apple always works, so.
All right, okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Tonight we have me, Matt, Mr Megagame, Chris, and Harrison Megagame Assembly. We are unfortunately missing Nice tonight because Nice actually has a social life and is off singing in a choir, which she does very well, which I believe was featured on the BBC a couple of weeks ago. So go and look up Nice's choir, which unfortunately I've forgotten the name of, so I cannot properly plug. But yes, unfortunately we're missing Nice very sadly because she's more interesting than both of us. Alright, so Megagame Assembly. What is it? So it was a website that we started up about a year ago to host a big old calendar of games, free mega games, resources, and do blogs and podcasts and generally share how much we love mega gaming. So yeah, I think we've been to about 150 games between us, I think, or over 150 games between us. I think is the total, which is slightly scary since we've done that in the last 4 years. So I'm now going to let Chris and then Harrison introduce themselves because you hear from me every week.
Like Matt says, I love mega games, but I don't know how much I've committed to that 150, but yeah, I do enjoy them absolutely, and enjoy helping to run Mega Game Assembly. And like you say, Matt, there's a resource for the community, and we hope people like using it.
Harrison?
I don't have anything to add to that, I don't think. Apart from let's never actually calculate that number between us because I think that would be quite distressing to learn.
Yes.
Yeah, how many days collectively we spent Mega Gaming.
Oh, no, let's not think about
that. Of course, Harrison and Chris also do We Love the Internet. And if you've been listening to their podcast on that, feel free to ask them questions on that as well. But as most importantly, people in the stream ask us questions. Horrible questions for Chris and Harrison, and lovely questions for me, please. But yeah, we will turn to the Survey Monkey for the first question. But I want to see some questions in that chat. So the first one is from Anonymous. Whenever I introduce new Mega Gamers to Chris, I tell them he is the most honourable, reliable player I know.
Whoever this person is, they're right.
Nose is growing quite substantially while they type this.
I wonder they didn't want to put their name to it.
Because they're scared of the ridicule.
My question is, what is the worst lie you've ever told at a Mega Game? Christopher?
Oh my God. Worst lie I've ever told at a Mega Game. Oh, that's a tough one. That really is a tough one. I've told so many. I don't know.
Pick a lie.
I'm usually quite honest, I have to say. I mean, yeah, I'm quite honest. I'll tell you if I'm going to come for you, and I will then come for you. So I don't tend to lie too much. Well, probably actually one that does stand out, let me think about it, was probably, I think it might have been Foxes and Devils. So I think it was Renaissance Italy, possibly, or similar, Brian Cameron's game. And I didn't know Ed Silverstone very well at the time, but he was helping us all day long, gave me and I had very little money and I had very little capability to do anything. I think I was Venice. And he gave me a stack of money in order to help him. I think I had to ferry some of his troops somewhere or something. He gave me more money than I needed to do that. And I ran off and built a palace to myself. And his look on his face when he came to the door to ask where his troops were, I was like, oh, they're still back in port. I've just spent the money on my own statue and mansion over here. He wasn't happy with at all. So yeah, it's probably the worst lie I've told, I think.
I'm trying to think of I keep thinking about the first run of Shot Heard Around the Universe when I was Minister for Security, because I basically just lied all day when I did that. One of my favorite lies was because I had a stealth ship that nobody knew about. And I was in my stealth ship observing Ed McDaniel's fleet get the shit kicked out of it by a stealth ship. And Tim said to me, "You know how that stealth works because it's the same as how your stealth works." So I then had to come up with a convoluted reason to explain to Ed how I knew how stealth technology works, other than it's the same as my stealth ship, because I didn't want people to know about my stealth ship. I'm trying to think what else. Probably quite a lot. Yeah. They all roll into one after a while.
Oh, there's one other time actually. No, there was. Well, it wasn't so much lies withholding the evidence and truth from Tim, but I think it was World Divided, one of John Meisner's games in the Southwest, and I was the ground force. I was the governor of the ground forces for the CPA, which is essentially the Chinese, and I spent most of the game trying to get hold of a nuke, including trying to get it off of one of Tim's ships. He didn't like it much, funnily enough. No, by the end of the game. He wasn't a happy Chad.
I didn't like either of you by the end of that game. Bastards.
Okay, worst lie I've ever told. I can't think of the worst. There are ones that do stick out, like possibly bold-faced lying to Harrison's face that nothing was going to happen to him when he came to do a TV broadcast with me. In Paul Howard's Necromunda inspired game.
I remember that.
Can I tell you my side of that story though? I spent all day begging me, like every turn he'd come, "Can you do a TV interview? Can you do a TV interview? Please, can you do a TV interview? I really need a TV interview." And I just had so much to do that day. I was just exhausted and I was finished. I was like, you know what? Sod it. I'll do the bloody TV interview. You can kill me and get on with life. I took half your security team down with me at least, and your building.
He took me down with him as well. I decided that the way to push my team right the way up the popularity ratings was when it became apparent he was going to escape for us both to die on live TV. So I just pulled the trigger on both of us, exploding terribly. And that, in the end, is exactly what happened. The building came down right on top of us.
The best part of that was that as that term began, Tim, who is my control, came to me and said, "I need you to submit a full financial report for every single transaction you've made all day." And I was like stealing money, bribing people left, right, and centre. I hadn't kept a single report at all. So you killing me prevented me from getting a Tim hair drying, which I will take that deal any day.
So I saved you from tax fraud.
Exactly, you did, yeah.
I would like to say once again that I'm the best of us.
You are the best of us. Okay.
Say that to the people in Berlin who you dropped that nuke on.
So
I was saving the world.
So it's from Johan. So for you, Harrison, how do you look so good in quarantine? What's going on?
I don't know.
What's the secret?
I have no idea. I really have no idea. I've gone my entire life convinced I couldn't grow any kind of facial hair whatsoever. I just grew this out of laziness, and it looked terrible for the first 3 or 4 weeks. But somehow I've managed to create a beard, and I have no idea how.
Yeah, doesn't he look like the thin man off of Narcos? I think it's like season 3 or 4 or something.
Apparently, I look like a Mexican drug dealer, according to Chris.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely.
He's called me worse things. So that's...
that is true. From Johan again. So, what's it like to be on the receiving end of all the Megagame in-jokes? And on a serious and related note, what is Mega Ass role in making the community more inclusive? Whoever came up with Mega Ass, to the depths of my heart, I stab at thee.
Yeah, it's one of those nicknames. The first time you hear it, even though you don't like it, you know it's going to stick. There's nothing you can do to get rid of it. Yeah. You might as well just embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, go on. Off your trot.
What's the question again?
On a serious note, what is Mega Ass's role in making the community more inclusive?
More inclusive. I guess we're just a friendly location to come to make games, I suppose. Obviously, there are other places online, on Facebook and what have you, that you can do the same thing. And we're not trying to push anybody else out, but make it as friendly as possible, as inclusive as possible. Anybody can come and ask questions. What is a mega game? Sorry, Johan. What are the best games people have played? Any questions, basically. If designers want to ask questions, they can. We just want to make sure that we can help grow the hobby because we all like it so much.
Garrison?
Yeah, I would just say that at the core of everything that we do is a certain level of neutrality. Like, we don't want to be associated with any particular groups. We don't have any loyalties in that regard. We want everybody and anybody to be involved. So that goes not only for the calendar, like we're not going to say to somebody, "Oh, what is a mega game?" when they tell us something's being played as a mega game. We put it on the calendar. Anyone can go on there. Anyone can write a blog. Excuse me. Anybody can write a blog for us. Just send us an email with a pitch or with a blog, and if we like it, we'll stick it up. And I've tried very hard on the podcast that I do to always have, apart from the first episode, which was the three of us, I think every episode since, and I might need to double check it, but I think every episode since has had a non-male member of the panel, which I've tried very hard to do, just because I think that's a voice that's not heard enough in mega gaming. And yeah, we just try and be as inclusive to everybody at every stage of everything we do.
Yeah, I think they mostly covered everything there. I mean, it behooves us all to have as many new people join Mega Gaming as possible. I mean, we bandy around loads of kind of figures when we chat about community, how many Mega Gamers actually are there, and I think basically most estimates definitely agree. Probably less than 3,000 around the world who have played a game, and probably less than that who regularly actually come to Mega Games and call it a hobby. So, yeah, we spend some money, we host the site, we do some advertising, we try and get blogs up regularly from different people, we try and do podcasts from different people. So I've tried very hard as well on the interview podcasts I do to try and get people from outside of the UK in on podcasts, kind of doing people from Australia, from America. We've had Johan from Sweden, because Mega Games is a global hobby and we'd like to embrace that. Basically, we'd like everyone to come and see the other games that are going on, and part of that inclusiveness as well is to try and expose everyone to all of the different game ideas that are out there. There is no substitute coming along to a new game that's got something innovative in it, but at least if you hear about it, people in different groups can try and take that away and look at that and do something different.
Yeah, for sure. We want the Mega Game Assembly to be everybody's first stop for mega gaming, and everybody means everybody. So any nationality, race, colour, gender, whatever, you're all welcome.
Absolutely.
Okie dokie. So another one from Johan. What was the key to go from one mega game to, let's call it, more than one mega game? By that, Johan, do you mean the kind of the thing that got us to come to the second game? The thing that we liked kind of most about it? Yeah, cool. So, yeah, we'll kick off with Harrison this time. So, what got you to come to your second game?
Thanks. Well, in the interest of in the style of the perfectly bad interviewee, I'm going to rewrite the question, because my first two mega games were the two big Watch the Skies mega games, and the more I look back on them, the more I realized I didn't actually have all that good a time compared to what was coming. The first mega game I consider a proper mega game was one of John Meisen's Watch the Skies games that I went to, which was much smaller, and for me was a lot more like the Watch the Skies that I'd seen on the Shut Up and Sit Down video that I wanted. And that was a heck of a better experience for me. I had a really good time. I met some people there for the first time that I continue to play mega games with now. And then when he ran it again in Bristol, I went there and Chris nuked me, or tried to nuke me.
Damn it.
The look on his face when he was assassinated is what brought me back to mega games from that point on.
Chris?
Probably a bit like Harrison. My first game was Watch the Skies 4, and I could see the absolute potential. I could see that I would enjoy it if I kept coming back. So yeah, I don't know what my second game was, but I obviously found out about Mega Game Makers because they were hosting the majority of the games at that time. That was probably 2016. So yeah, and then I guess the games definitely keep me coming back, but also the community as well. There's so many great people in the community that keep me coming back. I've got a lot of friends from the community now, which is awesome, including a new pair of reprobates. And so it just keeps getting better, really. And obviously, because of lockdown at the moment, I'm just going to actually go to a Meg game, but I'm looking forward to my first in-person Meg game when we are able to get out of our houses again.
Yeah, I think the first part of the question, talking about the in-jokes, I think that's genuinely, that kind of thing is what keeps me coming back. And like the stories you make with your friends at previous games, and then you see they're going to other games and you want to go along as well, and you reference those and you start seeing the same faces, start making new friends, start making new memories. It's just, it snowballs from there, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, for me, the first game I went to actually wasn't one of the big Watch the Skies games, though it is Watch the Skies that got me into Megagame. I saw the Shut Up and Sit Down video after my housemate at the time, James Olver, came along. So I then went to a kind of playtest of one of John's kind of universe games. He was actually running for Warwick University. Then I hopped in a car and went with him up to that game. I think that was when I first met Tim Campbell when he was playing Press. I had no idea who he was, and then on from there I went to the 3 big Watch the Skies game, and I just loved the utter absolute chaos and trying to form something from nothing. That real feeling you get essentially that the only thing leading you on through the day is this desperate treading of water, trying to move forward on your effectiveness in what you're being able to do. So I love that thing. I love having a role, trying to kind of form order from chaos. One of the reasons I like team leader roles so much is trying to organize people to get a nation to move forward is a supremely difficult task, yet it's also a very fun task. And sometimes they'll try and stab you, and sometimes they'll try and murder you.
Blow you up on live TV.
Yeah, little things. But I find it a lot of fun, and like the guy said as well, the friendship group I got from Mega Games, I wouldn't kind of dream to be without these days, and are getting me through quarantine quite nicely. So yeah, my games are awesome. So from Gumpy Bear, what role, if any, should game designers have in writing scenarios that in some way actively teach their players a lesson, be it a lesson in history, morality, practicality, etc.? Which one wants to go first on that one?
I think Chris wants to go first on that one.
Good lord, that's a difficult question, Gumpy Bear. I mean, I tend games just for the pleasure, really, for the fun. I don't necessarily need I'm not sure I necessarily need to lecture it in anything, really. I might well, if it's a historic game, I might well learn about the period beforehand and do my own research, or obviously read whatever the author, the designer is suggesting. But no, I think just having fun, really. I mean, I'm sure, like quite a few regular Meg gamers, I've committed more than enough fancy war crimes to end up in the ICC many times over. So I know they're bad, but they're fun at the same time. So I don't think I need to be told that they're bad, really.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it needs to be like any game that's trying to teach you something. It would need to be wrapped in the correct game, and as Ben Hirsch was kind of talking about in his game design when I had him on last week, it has to be fun if you're going to get someone to do it, and if you don't want someone to walk out 2-3 hours into your game, it has to be fun. So I think if a designer has a moral lesson that they want to teach, they're absolutely free to do that, though they should be aware that they're trying to teach moral lessons to adults who have all types of cognitive biases and the rest that you've got to get past. But it has to be fun, and it has to be fun for the people playing it. So you can teach the moral lesson that Chris nuking everyone on Earth is bad. I think that's a valuable moral lesson. But it also has to be fun as we stop Chris from nuking everyone on the face of the Earth.
Yeah, I think if if you set out to write a game that's specifically to teach a certain moral lesson, you very much run the risk of railroading players. And I know for a lot of people, the free-form openness of mega games is what draws them to it. The fact that you can run the same mega game every Saturday for a year and get completely different outcomes at the end of the day. Whereas if you railroad people towards maybe making a certain decision and then having that decision have certain consequences or something, I think you can start to take away the essence of what makes mega games for a lot of people. So I feel like any moral lesson learnt should probably be learnt unexpectedly, if that's the right way of saying it.
So you're kind of trying to hide a moral in there, which is essentially what Watch the Skies is. A moral of not all aliens are here to kill you just because that's the trope from movies. Do you think that works an example of that, Harrison?
Yeah, absolutely. And things like coming back to Chris and his nukes, like having a player nuke someone, saying, yeah, fine, absolutely fine, you've nuked them, but now you've got to deal with this. Now you've got to deal with this consequence and that consequence. And then maybe that player will then learn a moral lesson from that. But Chris won't. But don't think at the start of the game, right, I'm going to make one player do this, and then I'm going to tell them that this is what's happened as a result of that play. Like, let it form naturally and organically.
Okay, we'll go to one from the Survey Monkey. This is probably one for me and you, Chris. What differences did you see in play style when you went to play games at Gen Con?
Oh, I think with Gen Con is obviously it's a massive con. There's up to 70,000 people there. The guys do an amazing job. Peter Nixon and the others do an absolutely amazing job of putting on multiple mega games across a 4-day period. But I think the audience is very different to what we have necessarily in the UK. And I don't know about other countries, obviously, but it's more of a drop-in audience, more people who have maybe seen Watch the Skies video, or like we went last year, so the people who, maybe they've been before and with their friends, and so they invited, they told their friends and they went along together, who they've never, obviously these people never played a game before, and they're there mainly for the con, but they are playing the game as well. So it's a very different experience. Whereas in the UK, obviously, we all know a lot of faces and we all know a lot of personalities, and you know how to deal with people. There, obviously, was a blank canvas. But I found that, and it might be because it's a con and because these people have never played before, these players have never played before, but it was very much more of a cooperative kind of game. So I played in Den of Wolves, which obviously, when we played over here, tends to collapse into a den of wolves, literally. Like everybody's bad, basically.
Giving us
nest
a bad
of vipers.
Name,
maybe a nest of vipers, perhaps. But yeah, it's very much more cooperative over there, the games I played, which was great. I mean, the other thing I would say is I noticed the Americans, and it may be a cultural thing, maybe not. I mean, obviously, I only attended like 2 or 3 games, so I can't pull many things from this. But I noticed that a lot of people quite liked the idea of winning as well, which obviously we shy away from in the UK, certainly. There were no games with victory points as far as I remember, but they did want to know at the end, who did Control think had won, which wasn't obviously easy to say necessarily.
Yeah, having spoken to American players through various things we've done for the assembly, it seems kind of, I think the idea of winning a mega game is entirely possible, but it's the exception to the rule here. Whereas over there, it seems very much like that's expected. Like I think they come more from perhaps from a board gaming background, or they're more influenced by board games in so much as, like you say, you've got victory points, you've got a clear winner, you've got set objectives and all that kind of thing. Whereas here, that does happen. Like there are games where you have winners and losers and elections and all that kind of thing. But it's not something you'd expect going to a mega game here, I don't think.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to remember the games I played there now. So there was one which was Chris, what's the name of it? The game that's brought over from Australia, the one where there's a God King.
Yeah. I know what you mean. No.
Was that
God Emperor?
Yes.
God Emperor.
And I didn't go.
Yeah, Harrison just has a much better memory than we do, folks. So yeah, there were kind of victory points in that. That was a game that Nice, who can't make it today, unfortunately also part of the Megagame Assembly, was playing the council game in and did a fantastic job in. But yeah, by the end of that, you kind of had victory points. There was essentially a winner then for one of the other games that they kind of introduced, who kind of found the crown. So there weren't victory points, but there was definitely kind of, from each class of kind of player, there was a winning team. But the other games then were quite freeform. The kind of side game was quite freeform. I played like 5 games. I can't remember all their names now.
Crazy.
Maybe. But yeah, there is the victory points, and obviously Draft Night 3077 had an objective winner, and that was an online game done by Peter Nixon and Trenton. So victory points definitely are more of a feature for American games, I think, but they're definitely not in every American game. Yeah, maybe a bit more craziness in the plays, but I wouldn't say there's too much vast amounts of differences. Now, this is an in-joke. I don't actually know from Gummy Bear. How many eggs is too many eggs? Anyone? No. So just stumped with that. How many eggs is too many eggs?
I don't like eggs, so not very many is too many eggs.
Johan is saying 40. I'm going to say in a single go, more than 3 eggs is too many eggs.
Well, in your mouth at one time. I mean,
raw in the shell.
Okay.
I once tried to make that horrible hangover recovery drink from Cocktail. In the bar, the one where it's called a red eye, where you mix like tomato juice and vodka and a beer, and then you crack a raw egg into the bottom of it, so it sits in the bottom while you're drinking, and it looks like a red eye. That wasn't pleasant. I didn't enjoy that.
That's completely disgusting.
Yeah, that was 1 egg, and that was 1 egg too many. So maybe 1 is too many eggs.
Okay. Right. Okay. On to some sensible questions. From Megagame Adrian. Thank you, Megagame Adrian. What genre of games do you each prefer?
Ooh.
So I'll go because that's easy. For me, I like sci-fi games. Is my kind of preferred medium. And then after that, it's all kind of about what the setting is. But sci-fi and fantasy, to be fair, are my probably equal picks.
Probably modern day and then sci-fi as well. I think that I mean, I really like Watch the Skies. I've played it quite a few times. And I would definitely play it again, given the opportunity. But no, yeah, probably modern day or sci-fi, one of those two.
I'm going to completely chicken out of the answer because I genuinely like basically every form of mega game, but for different things. Like I'm a big sci-fi nerd, so I love sci-fi, but I'm a bit of a fantasy nerd as well. Not as much, so I enjoy like games set in worlds that I know. So like Game of Thrones, for example. I like historical ones because I often learn a lot more about a period of history that I didn't know before, and I love learning about history stuff. I spent ages researching the Iraq-Iran war for Undeniable Victory, the first time that was run. And I would never have learned any of that had it not been for mega games. So yeah, I guess I don't really have a favourite genre. Sorry.
Okie dokie. What have we got next? So from Clockwork Aileron, this is going back to the kind of American question. How much do you think it's a national thing, UK, Visa USA, Visa longevity thing? The more mega games you play, the less you care about who won.
Yeah, that's probably true, I would say. Unless you care about who won. You probably care on an individual basis, but yeah, overall you probably don't. I don't care. I mean, personally, I don't give a crap who wins. It's all about the story for me. I like going to the pub afterwards and and relaying a terrible story I had of the day, you know, how I managed to screw up something. It's good fun. I love the stories that come out of it. But yeah, probably, I would say probably the more you play, you probably do care less, I would say, yeah.
You screw something about mega games, Chris.
I know. Who could think?
It's a difficult one. I don't know if for me it would be longevity. I guess maybe to a degree but actually kind of the other way round. Like I don't think I was very good at mega games when I first started playing, and I still don't know. I don't know if you really can be good at mega games. But I think I've got better at making sure the other people on my team have a good time at mega games. And without sounding too cheesy, that's the real victory in mega games. But genuinely, some of my favorite mega games have been ones where I've been part of a team that have like really gelled together, really worked well together, and it's just felt really satisfying to like be part of a well-oiled machine. And yeah, I guess that's probably what I look to get out of a mega game now.
Yeah. I think while Harrison's going for Cheese Award of the Year, partially with that answer, having fun all the way through the day and everyone having fun just makes for a much better game. And I think I mirror Harrison as well. That I don't know if I'm necessarily good at mega games, but I certainly have gotten better at just talking to people. They've had real benefits for me and just how confident as I am as a person, how I deal with crisis pressure and time management at work. Mega games are essentially a high pressure environment for 6.5 to 8 hours, where someone's asking you a question, asking you to solve a problem, basically every minute. And if you can do that with a bit of a plump and a bit of grace and just kind of keep on trucking, then unless you work a genuinely stressful job where people's lives are on the line, then you're probably going to be good for most of the things people are going to ask you to do in work. If you can just keep that calm. Do I really care about winning? Well, obviously I want to feel like I've done well, but that's not the same as an objective win condition. And that's the thing traditional mega games do very well. Do I think there's any harm in a game with a absolute winner? No, but I think if you're going to do that, there is a big lesson to be learned in expectation management, in that people have to know that there's going to be an absolute winner, and they have to have as much visibility about how they win as possible. And also, when you're doing a debrief, then you need to be very careful about how you're talking about it, because you do not want to invalidate people's effort. You don't want people to feel like they've done 8 hours or more or something, and they haven't done anything because they haven't won. So you need to be very careful about how you tell them they've lost, and you need to build other things into the game that they can have a sense of achievement and how they've done that. Because no one likes feeling like they failed or they've had no impact on something. So you should absolutely avoid that. Going back up then. Okie dokie. Have you ever experienced a bad mega game? Without mentioning which one designers, naturally. That's your Mega Game Adrian. You laugh first, Harrison. You're up.
Thanks, yeah. Okay. I have a philosophy that I don't think there is such a thing as a scientifically provable bad thing. Like, you can't say that's a bad movie. You can't say that's a bad piece of music. You can't say, for a lot of stuff like that. And I have never been to a mega game where nobody in the room has had a good time. Every time that I have had a crap experience in a mega game, and I absolutely have, I have walked away from games thinking that was a complete waste of my day, and I, really not had a good time. And in every time that that's happened, it's been because my particular role didn't really work, or things happened that just sort of like meant that I didn't really have any impact. But every time that has happened, there have been other people in the room having an amazing time. So I don't think a mega game has existed that I've been to where fundamentally everybody had a bad day. I can't think of anyone that didn't have a remotely fun time in some of the mega games that I went to that were really horrible. Not horrible. I had a horrible time. So there are mega games that if you'd asked me afterwards, I probably would have said, yeah, that was a bad mega game. But that is in the heat of the moment, having spent 8 hours being very frustrated. Looking back on it logically, I can think of people who've always had a good time in those games, or people who did have a good time in those games when I didn't have a good time. So I'm not sure. I mean, it might exist, but I've never been to one that I would categorically say that was bad. Because I think for that to be that level, you probably have to get to about 11 or 12, and everybody in the room collectively say, you know what, this isn't working. Let's all go to the pub. And that's never happened to my knowledge, or I've never been at a game when that's happened.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I mean, I won't name any names, I won't name any games. The community is obviously relatively small, and so doing that would be very harsh, and I shan't do it. But yes, I absolutely have been to, like Harrison said, I've had bad roles, and I consider to be bad roles, and I have not managed to make much out of it, and I feel like I've lost a day to it. But I guess the important thing is that my overall time in the hobby has been much better than the downside of a few games being not necessarily going my way, or me not enjoying the format of the game or the role I had. By far outweighed the fact that I enjoy games overall and the community. So, yeah, I mean, with something as complex as a mega game, you're going to get roles that don't work out the way the designer expects, or you're having a bad day personally and you're not getting into the rhythm of it. There's all sorts of reasons why things can happen. So yeah, I've had bad roles and bad games, but they are the minority, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, I think about naming any names, I've been to games where obviously the game has worked well and it's just kind of I haven't gelled a bit, or is the role. But as Harrison says, I've never been to a game where no one enjoyed it. There's always normally someone getting something out of a game. I'm also aware that there's a game out there that I think is an objectively bad game in terms of its mechanics and how it's structured. Yet I had a lucky good roll and I had a fantastic day. Because of some luck about how I was cast, and some other people did have a good day as well. Just I think some of the structure of it, I can't understand some of those decisions. As Harrison says, for a game to be truly bad, would everyone have to walk out? I don't think that's likely to happen. I think control for all the groups are kind of good enough to kind of keep people having a good day. And in the main, the vast majority of control out there want people to have a good day, above just sticking to what the game is about. So yeah, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Essentially, that's a little bit of a cop-out answer. And I suppose the further question from that is, are there bad mechanics in mega games? Yes, there definitely are some bad mechanics in mega games. But those tend to be sorted out for the second run of a game if the game is run again. So very much in the eye of the beholder.
I think as well the problem is the mechanics are only one part of the recipe.
Yeah.
Like there are so many elements to Mega Game, and so much is reliant on your own frame of mind at the time. If you're tired, if you're in a good mood, if you've got a good role, if you've got a bad role, if you've got good teammates, bad teammates. If someone there is in a bad mood and is going to screw you over for no apparent reason, there's a million things that go into it, and I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think anyone's setting out to purposely design a bad mega game. They can do a less than stellar job of designing one particular part of the mega game, but in all of those circumstances where that's happened to me, like say someone else has been having a great time or someone else has been having a great day, and it could be that one role is great for one person on one day and just doesn't gel with the next person the next time the game's played. There's a huge amount of luck involved to it. So yeah, it's a very hard objectionable thing.
Yeah, Okay, next one from Bean2. Where do you see the future of mega games, e.g., in 5 or 10 years? So I'll go first on that one. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, we're seeing the start of the future now, I think, in terms of online games. Someone is saying later down in the questions that online games are here to stay, and I definitely think that they are. I don't think those are going to go away just because we're going to be allowed out the house at some stage in the future. So online games are definitely, hopefully we are. Online games are definitely here to stay. I think we're going to start seeing more things like King & Country and bring them home. Kind of smaller festival mega games for, say, 30 odd people with a higher amount of set design, and a little bit more of that LARP feature where you've got that set dressing. I think at some stage someone is gonna crack what Becky Ladley, Becky Blogs, calls Kilo Games, where you're running a mega game in 2 to 4 hours. Essentially, if the hobby is going to go a bit more mainstream than it is now, there needs to be an entrance point to it that has a shorter time investment, and that people don't have to travel to. And one of the ways to do that is to be able to rock up to a city when a festival is on and run a 2-hour game in the evening that people are going to as part of that. So bring them home, and King and Country will run at the Vault Festival over the last couple of years, and those attracted big numbers. But in order to do that, someone has to have the capital to outlay up front. I think also we'll probably see a little bit of a move to higher production values in games in terms of pieces and kind of components as well. That's my 2 cents.
I think we're just what I hope we're going to see is more diversity, and by that I don't mean just different people come into games. I mean different games being run. Like, we're already seeing groups pop up all over the country that are specializing in different types of games. And I think the great thing about the hobby and the idea of a mega game is it's really flexible. So you can have a mega game that's 2 hours. You can have a mega game that's a weekend. You can have a mega game that's played with 12 people sitting around the table. You can have a mega game that's 250 people in a town hall. You can have historical mega games, you can have sci-fi mega games, you can have fantasy mega games, modern day mega games. And I think the more people we get in, the more new ideas we're going to have, and the more breadth of choice we're going to have, I suppose. Choice and diversity is what I hope for, and I think we're on track to do that. Just in the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen the change in the hobby as people like us have come into it, and from when we started to what it is now is already a very different thing. Like you say, online mega games, I don't think that's going to go away. What I hope and what is happening and what I hope continues to happen is just diversity and different things for different people.
Yeah. Chris?
I'm going to be a bit controversial and say I don't think that online mega games are going to be a thing after lockdown.
Oh,
that's because you hate technology, Chris.
What do you think, people in the chat?
Partly,
what do you think? Is Chris right?
I think maybe there'll be like 2 or 3 hours or something, or an evening game that might be an idea. But people enjoy their weekends too much. If you're not going to a physical game, you're probably going to be visiting family or going out for a day out. Why would you want to sit in front of a computer all day on a weekday? And I know that's different from time zone and what have you, and it's a lot easier to get onto a mega game that's online versus one in, say, London if you live up in Glasgow. So there's definitely that. But I don't see it. We're all in this position right now because we're being forced to be, because of the virus. So yeah, I don't. Well, maybe you could be wrong. I very much definitely could be, but I don't think I am. I think it's going to be that way. But what do I see for the future? I mean, like Harrison said, it's already changed a lot since 2014 when Jem ran Watch the Skies the first time and started to sit down ran the video. So it was for 6 years. So yeah, another 5 or 6 years. I hope it continues to grow as much as it has already. Bring more people into the hobby. Like Sir Harrison says, if there's more new types of games, then that could potentially be good for new audiences and new people, new ideas. Yeah, just keeps feeding on itself, hopefully.
I think choice is the big thing. Like, I think if you only want to play, what we think of as a traditional mega game, something in the mega game maker style, in historical reenactment, that kind of style, then fine, great, brilliant. If you want to go and play 2-hour mini games, then hopefully there'll be enough choice for you to do that. If you want to do online, if you want to do in person, if you want to travel to Gen Con and do 5 mega games in 2 days, and I think the choice should be there for you to do whatever you want it to do. Mega games can be whatever you want them to be. That's the joy of the medium, to me anyway.
So the next one then from Johan So. Once we start doing flesh mega games again, interesting way to put
Lovely.
it.
Let's not call them that, please.
Yeah. So when we start doing flesh mega games again, there's a chance of a slightly fresh start. What should the hobby try to get right now that the opportunity arises?
I'll let Chris take that one.
Thanks. I'm all about the player experience at the end of the day, and I know I've been on Facebook groups before saying about how I don't like the sort of second in command roles and stuff. I think focusing on the player experience first and foremost. I mean, I love nice components. I like set dressing as much as the next guy, but that's not necessarily integral to the experience. It's having every role and I know it's difficult, and it's more than difficult. It's not impossible, because like we've spoken before, you can have somebody who's having a bad day and then they take that into the role and have a bad day, versus last time it was great. But if every role has something to do over and above just being somebody else's second command, if there's actually things where everybody's doing the game, I think that's the most important thing. And I think it would be great if designers focused on that. Not that they don't at the moment, but if we're going to reset for Flesh Mega Games, then that would be a great reset, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I think something that I think with the exception possibly of yourself, Johan, and Mega Games you run, and Becky Blogs, there's a lack of games that do marketing outside of the mega game community particularly well. And I think essentially there is going to be a correlation between the first designers and groups that successfully manage to market to adjacent groups, whether those be board gamers, computer gamers, LARPers, people, drama, kind of dramatic students, people do model UNs. I think when someone gets the marketing right and manages to bridge that gap, that could be a massive change to the community in the amount of new people coming in, new blood, new ideas. So coming back, we're going to have this opportunity where people are all of a sudden going to be looking for things to do again. They're going to go from being stuck in houses and just quarantining for quite a while, and then we're going to go to a stage where the size of events is going to open up and social distancing isn't a thing, so we can pack 100 people into a hall again. And at that stage, if someone can get the marketing right, then they'll do a great job for the community and the attendance of their own games. Cool. Moving on to the next one. Syntax 777, controversial one for you, Chris. Online mega games are likely here to stay, at least in part. Any specific do's or don'ts when it comes to online mega game design that you'd like to see? Anything specific you'd like to see in an online mega game?
Oh, I don't know. I think the format is so new, so embryonic. It's difficult to say what works and what doesn't. I think Johann's run obviously two runs of Den of Wolves now, and I've control for both, and they both worked very well. There seemed to be a player buzz about them afterwards. Certainly hanging around on the Discord server, there was a number of people who were having a great time. We've spoken within sort of the community that it's very difficult to tell if somebody is leaving an online game. They can just disappear and you wouldn't even notice necessarily in the chaos of the game. So it might be around trying to find a way of keeping those people. But I don't know. I mean, I think probably building from the ground up for an online game is probably the best way forward, because as much as Den Wolves went very well, and it was an excellent way of transforming a game online, but I don't know there's many Den Wolves out there that would make the transition so well. So perhaps building from the ground up. I don't know. I'm not a designer. I don't know how you do that, but I'm sure there are very smart people out there who do.
Yeah, I think it would be a danger to look at how well Den of Wolves went and not take into account, first of all, how good a job Johan and Nicholas did from the behind the curtain stuff, but also assume that because Den of Wolves went well, any mega game will go well. I think it's very possible that it was very well chosen, and maybe other mega games won't run as well. And I think it could be dangerous for people just to think, oh, well, I was going to run this mega game, I'll just do it online instead, and assume it's going to work. And I'm not saying it won't work, but don't make the assumption that it will, or write something new from the beginning to be online. Because, and I think, I think you have to think very carefully about why you're running it online. If you're just running it online because you really want to play this mega game, maybe think about how it's actually going to be online. Whereas if you think actually this is something that wouldn't work as a flesh mega game, please let's never say that phrase ever again. But just like some things work better when you're actually playing the game rather than online, I'm sure there's lots of stuff that work better online than actually playing the game. So take a good long look at what you're doing and why you want to do it online would be my suggestion.
Yeah, so things I kind of want to see when things are run online. I want to see that kind of sense of community. At a good old flesh mega game, you can see.
Please stop using that name. It's just it's a skin
It's going to stick now, isn't it?
It's going to stick. Of course it is.
You can see people moving around the hall, so you can see what's going on, and you can see lots of people, and there's a general buzz. What I kind of want to see from an online game, and this is something you did very well for the Dinner Wars game online, something that didn't work so well for Draft Night 3077, was you could scroll down the channels and you could see people in all the channels. So it gave you a sense that this was a populated universe, that people were there. I want to see that. I want to. I want to see there's other people in the game. What not to do, as a guide said, don't stick any old game onto Discord or Zoom or whatever your thing of choice is, just because you want to see a game. Do design games around things that you can do online that you can't do in a hall, which is what John Keyworth is doing in his Horus Heresy inspired game. So John is in the position where he can code, which is great, and he wrote like 2,000 lines of code in a week to run that game. So he's using Discord with the API, so if you wanted to change what sector of space you were in, you would click a button and that would automatically, you could do that once per turn, and that automatically changed the rooms that you could access. Really good feature. There was the Roll20 that was going on, where you would move your counter around and it automatically clocked down the movement allowance as you moved it. So the computer was doing everything for you. You didn't have to remember how far you could move. You just moved, and that was it. If you were going into combat, you just rolled your fleet against theirs. It rolled all the numbers for you and subtracted the damage. So if things are going to move online, I want to see that type of thing being used, because that is the type of thing that, in theory, could reduce mega games as close to this core as you want, where you don't have to worry about the mechanics. The mechanics work, they're happening automatically for you. You can just get down and dirty and talk to people and do your backroom deals, because mega games are about two things at their core: conflict of one sort or another, and talking to people. And if you can use technology in an online game to reduce the burden so you can get more just talking done, then I'm all for that, essentially. Should Chris grow a beard?
He can't.
No.
I mean, I say yes, but he's saying he can't. He's saying he can't.
Well, I grew one a week ago, and around here, here. It didn't grow. It was really weird. So no.
Okay.
Down and no way. Never again.
Moving quickly onwards. From Clockwork Aileron. Speaking of good, bad roles for particular players, what do you think of the idea of letting players pick their own roles? Harrison is laughing because we've had a little bit of conversation on that around the community, but crack on, Harrison.
Spirited debate, I think, would be the way to describe it. I think it's both great and bad. I have had games where I've been put in a role that I was completely unsuited to, and I feel like if I'd been able to choose my role, I would have had a better time. Without naming names, Chris and I played in a game where we got absolutely screwed by somebody who was absolutely in the wrong position, that brought basically the entire game down. And had it not been for some impressive control, maybe the game would have ended early. I don't know. It's one of those questions with a very difficult answer. I think it depends massively. I don't think there's a perfect way to do it. I think a certain amount of casting has to be done. A certain amount of control has to be done. And whether that's done by people who are casting the game or whether that's done by the person playing, it's kind of a trust issue. You have to either trust the people running the game to know you, to put you in a good role, or you have to trust the players to take a realistic choice, which doesn't always go well. And there are some roles where if they go wrong, they bring the whole game down with them. And that's a very dangerous thing to do. So, yeah, that's not really an answer, but that's my thoughts.
Okay.
I used to think that letting people choose their own roles was the best thing, and I've changed my mind over that over time. Probably the best thing I've seen is what Becky blogs, Becky Ladley trails, which is the idea of sending out a casting questionnaire to let people know, let her know as a designer what they want, what they enjoy doing mechanics wise, or do they prefer to be talking to people, do they prefer to be in councils, what kind of role do they like, or what kind of role do they think they like, especially if they're brand new to the hobby. That said, I think that's the right way of doing it, and I think that would be, it'd be brilliant, because obviously designers know a brand new person off the street who's coming to play the game. They have no idea who they like, what they like, so casting them, it seems very silly to me. I don't know how you could possibly cast somebody you don't know into a role. How do you know how they're going to react? Well, they're going to enjoy it. You have no idea about them. But that said, like Harrison mentioned, if there's key roles in your game that could bring the game down if they go horribly wrong, if a person isn't suited to it or does something monumentally stupid you'd never expect them to do, then probably casting that kind of role is probably a good idea. If you have an idea of somebody who a Megagame regular who would be useful in that role, and you can brief them and you expect them to act in a certain way, that's probably a good idea, because you don't want your game falling apart at the end of the day. But no, I think casting questionnaires is definitely the way forward.
I think it's the way forward, because it involves both sides. Because you as the player say, I like to do these roles, or I want to do these roles, and the person who is designing the game, who knows the game, can say, right, I'm going to put you here, I'm going to put you there, and hopefully both sides are happy, because they're both having input in the decision, yes, rather than one side being 100% responsible for it.
Yeah, I think I lean to letting people pick the role they want, but with caveats. With the caveat that what a role involves needs to be clearly signposted at the stage where people are choosing. So if you're gonna throw up a list of just buy tickets for your individual roles, then each of those roles needs to have some keywords or a ticker telling you what that is going to involve. If it's a team lead role, needs to be able to deal well under pressure, is going to be looking after the game with 3 other people. Are you willing to put other people's fun before your own? You will be expected to do this. So letting people self-select, because a lot of people who turn up to games, people aren't going to know them. And if that's the case, you're going to tend to get, as did happen, and I admit I'm a beneficiary of this, you're going to get regulars into certain type of roles because they know that you're going to be able to do that. So you need to be telling people what's expected in a role very clearly if you're going to allow them to pick it themselves. But miscasting can happen even when people know people quite well. And I think allowing people to choose their roles is just an easier way for people to get people into games. When people turn up on a page site and they don't exactly know what they're doing, I suspect that turns some people off from signing up to games in the first place. But it is very, very, very strongly with that caveat that if people are going to self-select, they need to understand the obligations and have an expectation of what they're going to be doing in that role. Moving on to the next one then, from Becky Becky Vlogs. Do you think mega games will become more mainstream? Do you think they'll look radically different if they do?
I will go back to my previous answer, and the great thing is that if they do, they don't have to change. Like, you can have mainstream mega games, you can have mega games that are exactly what they look like at the moment, and the existence of one doesn't cancel out the existence of the other. So you can have people in a £10,000 a day venue in full costume going batshit crazy. Then you can have a bunch of mates sitting around the table playing on bits of cardboard and foam board. Doesn't matter. You can do what you want with it. And I think maybe some change would have to be made to what we consider to be a typical mega game right now to make it go mainstream. Things mentioned like marketing and components, prices, and things like that. But like I say, doesn't mean that every other mega game then has to change to be the same. I think it's perfectly fine to have whatever the market wants and for that particular style.
Yeah. Cool. I think we've kind of touched on that, so we'll go to the next one. Okay, from Gumpy Bear. If you had to describe your favourite style of mega game as a fast food establishment, which brand would you choose and why? On to the important questions.
Can I answer that one for Chris, because he's going to say Pizza Express because it's the only food brand that he knows.
It's not fast food. How dare you, sir?
It's the only food you know. Don't ever let Chris choose a restaurant. If you're going out with him, don't ever let Chris choose. If you let Chris choose, he'll go to Pizza Express. If you let Anthony choose, he'll take you to bloody what was it, Tower Bridge or whatever the hell it was. He kept going back. Waterloo. You got to know who to ask in these situations.
Ask me. I'll take you to Pizza Express every time because I never get to go.
We go all the time. But yes, Harrison.
We go to Waterloo.
Move on.
Yeah. I'm going to say Five Guys because it's quick. Yeah, good. Okay, so next, what we got next? Do you guys ever get nervous before mega games?
Hell yeah. I do. I absolutely do. I felt nervous going to my first ever mega game, and I think I felt nervous going to every mega game since. I'm convinced everybody else knows the game better than I do, knows the rules better than I do, has understood everything. I'm constantly convinced that someone is going to have a moment where I try and do something and they're going to be like, oh, well, you can't do that because of this rule, and I'm going to feel stupid. Or I'm not going to understand all the terminology being used or anything like that. Or I'm going to mess up somebody's day, or if I'm in a team lead role, I'm going to bring the team down. Every game.
Chris?
Probably nervous excitement. I look forward to every mega game. I'm obviously living outside of London. For the London games, I have to get up relatively early, so I don't necessarily sleep the best before. But no, it's I do get a little bit nervous, but I look forward to it very much so. No matter what the mega game is, actually, I always enjoy it.
Yeah, I do get nervous. Which sometimes I think is ridiculous, and then you realise what you're about to do. You're about to step into a high-pressure environment with 40 to 80 people for 8 hours. But yeah, like Harrison, if I'm in a team lead role, I'm worried I'm going to screw people's days up. Am I actually going to understand anything? I will say most of the time, as soon as I get into the flow, so as soon as I get there, or the first turn comes down, or I suppose that first moment in a game where I feel I understand, I know what I'm doing. That tends to melt away, and I can get into the zone and start doing whatever completely reasonable and unnefarious plans I have for that day.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're never nefarious, people. They're never nefarious.
Don't trust him.
And we have Nice in the chat. Nice is the other quarter of Megagame Assembly. So we are 3/4 of it, and then there is Nice, who couldn't be here today because she was singing in her BBC featured choir. So ask Nice questions about her choir while she's in the chat. Is a legacy systems or persistent character a good desired trait in Megagames? Is it something the designer should try to incorporate if possible? And that's from Syntax.
I would love to see that incorporated. In the same way that I've been saying all evening, doesn't mean that every mega game has to do it. But I've had multiple mega games where I have finished the game and wished more than anything we can just go home, sleep, come back the next day, and just pick it up where we left off, and continue on with the characters, continue on with the stories. So it's definitely something I would love to see more of.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see it incorporated. I think it can be quite difficult because I think the thing is, when you start talking about that, to me, what you're kind of talking about in many ways is a LARP. You're describing a LARP. But to be fair, LARPing is an aspect of mega games.
But I didn't say anything about putting on funny costumes and running around in the woods.
Running around in the woods is an excellent pastime, Harrison. And one day you will both embrace it.
Whatever floats your boat, dude. Whatever floats your boat.
Is that likely?
But yeah, I don't see why you couldn't have a mega game with a persistent universe. It's just you're starting to get into this thing of what type of characters do you have? Do you have the same hierarchical type of structure? And Jim Warman obviously ran a game over two different groups, which has some of those elements. So yeah, I think it's doable.
I think one reason I would quite like to see it is it might reduce last turn madness, which is something of a bugbear of mine. I think if you actually have consequences to the last turn of the game, then maybe people would behave a bit differently. But that's another conversation.
Okie dokie. In the interest of time, we'll scroll on. Do you ever use a system whereby regular players can get more weighted outcome regarding role choice? I think just a quick answer to that one. In most games, you can request what role you want, and quite often, unless there's a casting reason or someone has asked before you, then you tend to get roles. Okay. Have you guys ever been to a multi-day mega game, and do you think there's an audience for it? Bing 2. Yes, there's an audience. It's me. I'll do it.
I think it would be great. Again, with the usual caveat of it would depend entirely on the thing. I would love to do something like a Washington Conference style game that was all about negotiation over a weekend in a hotel, where everyone's staying together. You spend the whole day negotiating, and then you all have dinner together and have drinks together, and then you pick up where you left off Sunday morning. I think that would be a really fascinating game to play. I think that could be really fun.
Yeah.
Someone write it.
I'm just asking Johan to run it now. Chris, would you do it?
Yeah, I think I would. I don't know what the audience would be like, because obviously you've got to factor in the cost of wherever you hold this thing and the accommodation, so it's going to push prices up quite a lot. I think it'd be viable, absolutely. I think it'd be fun. I'm not sure it would ever be able to be possible, but yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions before we let Chris and Harrison go? Your last chance. While people think if they've got any last chances for you. So where can people find you guys for both Mega Game Assembly and We Live the Internet? Which kind of answers itself, to be honest.
We love the internet.co.uk and megagameassembly.com. We are .com, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, .com.
They're a good podcast. You should listen to it. You should also listen to the Mega Game Assembly ones that Harrison does. Most annoyingly, he has a real smooth radio presenter voice, so you should definitely go listen to him do that. And Chris puts a lot of effort into the calendar and the blog post, so you should definitely check those out as well. So
when there are games running.
Yeah, when there are games.
Yes, it's a bit blank at the moment.
Yeah, I keep removing them at the moment, which isn't much fun.
Well, I'm going to have to throw this question out. We've got the Earl of Who asking, I hadn't heard of Mega Games a year ago. Looking forward, where do you envisage the term Mega Game being? Which I believe is, what is a Mega Game?
I'll hand that one over to you, Matt.
Oh no!
As Mr Megagame, I think that's your purview.
How can you betray me like this?
I can't. We've discussed it before. It's fine.
So yeah, in my terms, a Mega Game is anything that has conflict at its core. It doesn't need to be military conflict, but it has to be kind of some type of conflict. Johan's screaming at me to cut the stream. It's very distracting.
He's getting on a plane right now. Strangle you in your sleep.
Yeah. So it has to be conflict. It has to be some people, and essentially they're a combination of a board game, a role play game, a LARP, and a model UN. And there are loads of things that you could call defining characteristics, but yeah, essentially they require conflict, and they have elements of other games in them that build up into an overarching whole. And we could spend many hours, and have spent many hours discussing what a mega game is. And I think where I'll end that is essentially, it doesn't really matter. If you want to run a game and call it a mega game, run the game, call it a mega game, and have fun. Do not let anyone who tries to get pedantic with you about what a mega game is stop you or give you jip. Just run it, and if people enjoy it, they'll come back. That's it. We run the games and we play the games to have fun. Don't let anyone give you jip by being a pedant.
But if anyone says this is just like a LARP, punch them in the face and kick them out.
Right, okay. So thank you very much. If you've all enjoyed this, please like, follow, subscribe on here, Twitch. I'm trying to do more of this. It would be great to see you. I do this every Tuesday. Next week we've got Seamus Bates of True North Mega Games, who's helped set that up, and he's done Kingdom of Seasons. If you want to find out more about Mega Games, hopefully us talking about Mega Game Assembly and why we love Mega Games for an hour has made you interested. So Chris, Harris, and myself, and Nice from Mega Game Assembly. So yeah, come along and have a look at the podcast and the calendar and all of that. Go check out We Love the Internet if you need some weekly podcasting for that. But yeah, I hope to see you all next Tuesday. And in fact, I'll be streaming the Pandemic Legacy game that the three of us and Becky Blogs play weekly tomorrow, where we're getting our ass kicked by the virus. So come have some entertainment for that. And then on a Saturday, is it this Saturday? Or possibly a Saturday soon, I'll be streaming the playtest for the Horus Heresy kind of themed mega game on the 16th of May, so in a couple of weeks. So come along and check that out as well. If you want to check the back catalogue, please do. There's the Den of Wars mega game that was run on Saturday there, and a few of these AMAs. So thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Harrison and Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye all.